Okay, so this is a follow-up narration thingy-jiggy that I'm going to do for a video that I posted or that was dated for March 12th. I opened up a hive and I found all kinds of mold on the back end of the hive, and so I came back a couple days later and I cleaned that up and I added some fondant and I took a whole bunch of pictures while I was at it. Sometimes it's fun to take pictures especially in the wintertime when you don't have time to really look around and look closely at what's going on inside the hive, because I got to get in and out as quick as I can. It was warm, but it was the wintertime, so I don't like to keep it open very long. So I just took a bunch of pictures while I was doing everything, and then I look at the pictures later and I say, hey, what did I miss? What's going on in this hive after I look at these pictures, or you just sort of analyze it afterwards. And look at this. This is one thing I noticed. This is a bee sitting on a top bar, and there's two things that really stand out for me. The big one is right here. This is poop. My guess is, I don't know how poop got underneath this bee's wing, but my guess is that when I slid the inner cover off, just the exposure to the air will trigger the cleansing instinct at times, which is the instinct to poop, to clean out their guts after they've been holding it in all winter. And so some bee probably just flew up, and as soon as it flew up, everything just came out of it and landed on this bee, and that's probably what it is. And it's not this looks like just like a nice healthy, I'm not going to get into too much detail about this, but there's healthy looking poop and there's disease looking poop, and basically the disease stuff looks a bit darker and gross, and this is still pretty gross, but anyway, this is normal, nothing, good solid, good color poop. It's all great. So I'm glad I brought that up. Anyway, so that's nothing. So this here is the stinger sticking out of the back of that bee. And this is what I call the source of incidental stings. And incidental stings are, the bees aren't trying to sting you, but you've done something to slightly alarm them or disrupt what's going on inside the hive. And they know they're exposed to the elements or to a possible threat, but they don't have it to just go out and sting you in the face or whatever. So they stick their stingers out just like this, just a little pin of the stinger coming out. And if you happen to bump into it, you're going to get a sting. And that's basically it. It's like, it's not a coming to get you deliberate sting, but if it's like you were messing with them when you shouldn't have, and you got an incidental sting. And there you go. And that's what I call the incidental stinger. I don't know what it's actually called, but that's what I call it. And there it is again. And this is just a piece of old poop. And this is the mold that got inside the hive. And even though I had this hive set up with, I had it tilted forward so any excess condensation would pour out, and I had it sealed up with tape and all kinds of stuff, it still got moldy. Water somehow still got in there, or excess condensation built up, whatever. But this is where it usually builds up, right here on the edge of the top bars, and that's what I've got. And here you can see the corner of the back of this moldy hive, and I cleaned it up. This is before I cleaned it up with the apple cider vinegar. And you can see here, this, at first I thought, oh gee, what the kind of, this sort of weird moss growing? But no, this is the propolis seal. And you can see this is where the bees had propolis, or had propolized the back of the hive. And maybe this is a section that didn't get fully propolized before it got too cold for them. I think I would have been better off even not putting tape over the back of the hive, because I think the tape actually holds in condensation, or holds in moisture a little bit, and it softens the propolis seal, and then I think more condensation can get in that way. I don't know, I'm not sure, but that's just my spitballing theory there. This doesn't look like much of anything, but that looks like a grub, some sort of grub to me. I don't think it's anything to be alarmed about, but yeah, that's what that is, I think. And this looks like a piece of a woodlouse, or a carpenter, that some people call them in Newfoundland. And all of this junk, this gooey stuff, it's hard as rock, solid propolis, which is the magic glue that the bees make out of tree sap. And it's funny how the bees have it all figured out. We put them in these artificial wooden boxes that are smooth on the inside and all this stuff, and we think we've got it all worked out. But really, if you left it up to the bees, they would propolize everything. And in nature, the inside of the hive wouldn't be smooth; it would be rough. It would be the inside of a tree or something like that, and they would propolize the whole thing. And if you look, this propolis, it's just like super glue, and it creates a surface that is not absorbent. Water cannot penetrate this layer of propolis that they have all around inside any rough surface or anything, or anywhere there's space like this between at the end of the top bars and all that. So they create a surface that is watertight, and so if there's any condensation inside the hive, it doesn't absorb into this wood or anything that absorbs and holds in dampness. It would hit this non-absorbent material or surface, and it would drip down to the bottom of the hive where it wouldn't hurt the bees. So there's really nothing too natural about all these wooden hives that we've got our bees in. This is not what they would choose. So what is this thing? I don't know. I don't think it's anything, but it almost looks like... Anyway, this is all I'm doing here. I'm just like examining photos, and sometimes you see things that you didn't notice at the time. I don't know what that is. I don't think it's anything. It might just be an old rotten spruce needle or something. So anyway, this is the cluster, the bees clustering over the top bars, and it's a good sized cluster. This and all this stuff, these are solid frames of honey. That's capped honey. Most of it's capped, and it's all nice and solid. I gave them some fondant anyway, and this is they're clinging to the inner cover. This is when you know, I don't know, it's not necessarily that they're starving, but they're just up top. And sometimes they're starving, sometimes they're not. But usually, once I see my bees clustering up top, I think about giving them some food, which is what I did. I cleaned up all that mold, and then I gave them a big clump of fondant. I laid it down right here. I put a feeder rim along the edge right here, so it's about 2 or 3 inches of extra space above the top bars. And then I put I used smoke to clear a hole right here, and I laid down the fondant, and they got fed. And you can see the propolis seal. They had a good propolis seal going here. And this was done, I took these photos, and it was all in and out in about 2 minutes. It was very fast. Except for this mold, which I'm not happy about. They look okay. I think they're doing okay. I think the brood nest is building up, and they're on their way. And so now they've got, just to be safe, they've got a big chunk of fondant right here, sugar basically, to keep them going. If for some reason this honey doesn't keep them going, doesn't last. These are little bits of poop, but it's nothing too worrisome. It's just it's nothing big. And what else we got going on here? Oh yeah, so here we go. This is a defective. I have plenty of these. This is a defective super that I sort of inherited from a local beekeeper, and it's always had this big crack. The edge of it has always been too high, and the middle has been too low, and you end up with this giant crack where moisture can get in. And it's not a big deal in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it's no good. So I had to put duct tape around that to seal it in before I was done with that for the day. And I think you can use tuck tape or duct tape. I know there's debates about which is the best tape to use, but I don't think it makes any difference. I'm not sure there is really any big difference. You just got to seal in that crack. You can also use, I've seen beekeepers use 100% silicone. So, yeah, I didn't have any silicone. I just used tape that day. Anyway, that's it. Sometimes it's fun to just take quick pictures and then look at them later and see what you can learn from them. And I'm not sure what we learned today, but you can really see that propolis seal. And you can see there's not a lot of poop inside the hive, so which means there's not much dysentery. The bees haven't had to go out much, or they've been able to get out the bottom entrance. And there you go. Pretty boring, but that's beekeeping half the time. Okay. See you later. Oh, there's the gross one.